If you see life the same way you did 20 years ago, or in this case, 40 years ago, if you see life the same way you did 40 years ago, then I wonder if you've really grown. Because over time and over life, we are expected to grow. And that means our perspective and views will change as we get older, based on our experiences and based on our relationship, most of all, with the Most High. With that being said, I have this reading that the Ruach gave to me that I want to share with you, and I call it Thanks for Serving. I wonder, all the black military veterans who served in the armed forces, how do you feel about the fact you served in America's military? Here's why. You know our history. There was a time that black people could only serve in menial positions in the armed forces. Over 1,000 black officers during World War I and 1.2 million black people served during World War II and were still treated as second-class citizens. All the victories and achievements black people accomplished in the armed forces were strategically covered up or never mentioned in history. Then when you get to the Vietnam War, black people had a hell of a time returning to America and could not even get a job. Approximately 300,000 black people were in the Vietnam War. That out of 400,000 officers, approximately 8,300 were black. Out of 1,342 admirals and generals, 2 were black. Is that thanks for serving, or is that plain old unequal treatment and racism? Even today, black people are treated like you know what in certain duty stations throughout the world. One of the saddest BS of Army cover-ups I've ever known in the unjustified murder of Private First Class Lavina Lynn Johnson, who was found dead in her tent in Iraq from a fatal gunshot wound, amongst other inhumane acts done to her. The beautiful young black lady was 19 years old, just days before her 20th birthday. But the United States Army closed the case without an arrest. The following short excerpt is from an interview with Private First Class Johnson's parents. You can view the entire interview on YouTube and type in military cover-up in the rape and murder of Army soldier Lavina Johnson. Make sure you also watch Verdict, an American injustice against its citizen, Lavina Johnson. Watch the clip and I will come back to you.
Now that can make a difference, because the Army is not going to change their call. They're not going to do that. Whoever they're protecting now, then you got more people that have gone out on a limb. And so it's gotten to the point now where it's gotten real nasty. And this just wasn't a murder. My daughter was brutalized. I mean, it was horrible. And no parent should have to go through that with their child that made a conscientious decision to forego her education to do something positive for her country. In essence, this might sound like a horrible statement, but right now my family feels as if they've turned on her and us. You know, they're treating us like second-class citizens, and I don't like it one bit, because I've done everything that I was asked to do as a good citizen. I went and got a decent education. I worked for the government. I raised a tremendous family. I've done all I'm supposed to do. And in addition to that, I gave my daughter under the stewardship of the United States Army, and then they turned on us. And you're not going to say one person beat themselves up, dislocated their shoulder, dislocated their elbow, set themselves on fire, mutilated their vital area, hit themselves in the face twice, That just doesn't, that's not even logical. And then for the Army to still maintain that this is a suicide, that's ludicrous. So my question is, when do you look at your own evidence and say, okay, we made a rush to judgment here, let's do the right thing?
So that's what we want. Just tell the truth. And they need to stop this. Congress or whoever in charge, they need to stand up and do their jobs and stop allowing these people in this military, just because you have on a uniform, that you can do anything, rape, murder. You need to go to jail. No parent should have to go through what we've been going through, because there's no pain like the loss of a child. None whatsoever.
And I would like to say that Lavina was the only one, but then that's not true. They've done it to other families just like they're doing it with us. The only difference is we're fighting back. People ask me, what do I want? I'm going to answer that. I want justice. Somebody committed cold-blooded murder. And I've talked to other parents that have had daughters raped and murdered. But I have never talked to any parent that told me that their daughter went through what my daughter went through. It was horrible. And somebody else's daughter is not safe. They have a torrid reputation when it comes to abuse of women in the military, and it needs to be dealt with. And they're not going to do that as long as they're covering up for people who did this to Lavina and Tina Priest and Deborah Boydniak and Gloria Davis, and the list goes on and on and on. So it'd be a cold day in hell before I stop. And I mean that with all my heart. So how they gonna handle their end, that's gonna be up to them, because I ain't stopping. And anybody that's gonna help us get justice, I'm gonna be right there telling this story.
The United States Army ruled her death a suicide. Really? And she is just one case of hundreds of black and white females who have been abused by higher ranking officers in the armed forces. There is an unending list of abuse after abuse, rape after rape, and mental trauma that causes PTSD en masse. So, I sometimes wonder, have we been used and abused serving in the armed forces, and we casually say, thanks for serving, as if it is a badge of honor, when really we have been legally accosted, prejudiced, and had to deal with racism on a different level. Heck, I had a full bird Navy captain who made a racist statement over the internal ship's phone about them people. And my supervisor, a white lieutenant, was in the room and looked at me and said, he didn't mean nothing about that. You understand, don't you? I boldly and almost arrogantly said to the lieutenant, no, sir, I do not understand. Anywho, you all know I am telling the truth about the United States Armed Forces. If you served in America's military just for one day, you could smell the stench of racism targeted against black people. Say it ain't so. Sometimes I wonder, thanks for serving, or thanks for taking the abuse and serving the legalized lies. And do you know how difficult it is to complain and pursue grievances against the armed forces? Especially if you are black. Who did we serve and get abused by? The same oppressor that abused our ancestors. And now us, with the compensation of a paycheck and rank to shut your mouth and serve. Now, almost 40-something years later, I see things differently. And you may not agree or share my sentiments, but thanks for listening and for serving the abuse and legalized lies. In his service, his bondservant, Hadar Shmaryahu Yaakov. My view of the world has changed with full assurance of the laws and commandments of the Most High, Elohim Yah. In the future, I will not thank you for your service, and I will not acknowledge thanks for my service, and I will not judge you if you choose to pay honor and homage to a country that lied to us, beat us, discriminated, open discrimination against us, accosted, abused, raped, and molested my brothers and sisters, daughters and sons of the United States Armed Forces. I am done with every memorial and honoring of the heinous crimes committed against the people of the Most High. Please wake up, Yehudim.